Hello and welcome to the channel that covers everything where health and technology meet. And today we're reviewing the Proform Studio Bike 22. Well, because you guys lit up my comments asking for reviews on this bike, so I got it for you. And let's jump in by talking about the assembly of this bike. And I'm going to say it wasn't my favorite to assemble. It wasn't real smooth in that some of the bolts, the Allen wrenches they gave you just didn't fit, so I had to go find my own tools. Not the biggest deal in the world, but just kind of an annoyance that they provide everything for you and things aren't fitting and working as they should, and bolts were hard to kind of get in. Another annoyance was I had to connect different pieces of this bike and they have wires run through them, and they have twist ties connecting to them so you can kind of fish them out, have them, connect them, then put the tubes or the parts together. Well, they didn't always want to come out. They were kind of stuck way down deep in the tubes, and it was hard to fish them out without pulling so hard you felt like you're going to break them. Well, I eventually got that all done, and it worked perfectly except for the resistance wouldn't work. It was locked in at a certain resistance, and you could not change it. So I had to tear everything apart, and when I was pulling some of those wires out, they have all sorts of mini wires or small wires hooked up to the connections, and one of those just popped out and was still way down in the tube. I had no way of knowing. I don't know what wires are supposed to be in there and what are not. I'm just connecting them. So I had to put that all back together. It made the whole thing a little more challenging than it should have been, so I wanted to point that out and be completely honest about the experience, but end of the day, I got it to work. It wasn't that bad, there's just some annoyances, but I want to be transparent, and that's what I ran into on the assembly. Moving on to the bike itself and starting with resistance, I thought it was very good. It's smooth, supportive, and comparable to a lot of the other top tier options out there. The range is also very good, meaning that you can go from light riding all the way to difficult riding and have a lot of points to change it throughout that range. A couple things to note, and the first one I want to point out is that this has 24 resistance settings, meaning that you have to pick one of those 24 options, and you can't make micro adjustments as easy. Some bikes have that knob there that you can turn and you have options from 0 to 100, so you have more ability to make micro adjustments if you just want to make it slightly harder or slightly easier, but still stay really close to where you want to be. Where this, you might have to make a little bit bigger of a jump, but at 24 resistance settings, it's still a lot to play with, and I don't think most people have a problem with that. It's still a lot of room to play. Second is that this bike is slightly behind other bikes in the top end resistance. And what I mean by that is when I get comments asking, can this bike push me to my limit? If I'm sitting, can it get so hard that I can barely move the pedals? Well, this one doesn't go quite that hard, but it still does go to a very tough resistance. I'm personally very satisfied with it, but I do know that a lot of people want a bike that will push them to the absolute maximum. And this bike doesn't quite get to that level. So if you're one of those, a different bike's probably going to be a better option. But I think 99% of people are going to be very good with this. It was just so smooth. It was good. I was very, very happy with the resistance. So that's the only things I want to point out. Other than that, fantastic. As far as pedals go, they only have cages. I do wish they had clip-ins, but you can always change them out if that's something you want. But as far as cages go, they worked fine. I felt very connected, and I was happy with them from that perspective. As far as adjustability goes, it's three-way adjustable, meaning the seat goes forward and backwards, up and down, and then the handlebars go up and down as well. At 6'3", I was able to fit on it just fine. Obviously, there's going to be limitations if you get too tall, but I think it's going to be able to fit most people. As far as the monitor goes, it did a very good job. It is a little boxy for my taste and has a large bezel around the outside, but the screen quality is great. It's very big, so it gets you fully immersed in the ride. Did a great job. No complaints as far as that goes. It also has a swivel capability, so you can turn it away from the bike, tilt it up and down as well, so that way you can see it from wherever you're at in the room to do those off-the-bike workouts, which is a feature that I do recommend trying to take advantage of these bikes because you get more out of the bike, also more balance to your workout. As far as the seat goes, pretty standard. I didn't have any problems with it. I never had any discomfort, so I'll give it the pass there. The comfy also worked well with it, so that fits if you do want to add a little bit of cushion. As far as connectivity go, it does have Wi-Fi supporting both 2.4 and 5.0, so it's nice to have options there. It does not have an Ethernet connection. I finally said that right. So you have to work with the Wi-Fi, but I didn't have any problems at all. And as far as overall feel and construction of this bike, I was pretty happy. At 6'3", 220 pounds, it felt like it handled me just fine and never felt like I was too much for the bike. A couple of things I did notice is that where the handlebar post goes into the bike, there's a little bit of play there. I think that's just how it's designed, but you'll probably see that in the video. I wish it was a little snugger, but it is what it is. And the second thing is, all those cables I mentioned connecting, to me, that's just a lot of failure points and areas that could have problems. It's fine now once I fixed it, but I wish there was just one strong cable band that kind of went the whole way and you didn't have all those different connections. But overall, very happy with it. It's handled me just fine. I think a lot of people will be very happy with the construction. All right, let's move on to the connected fitness and ride portion of the video. But if you could, hit that like button for me real quick. It's all I ask. Huge help. I really, really appreciate it. And if you're getting ready to comment, can you compare this to the Norditrek S22i? Yes, I am going to. So hit that subscribe button to know when it comes out. So let's move on to the user interface, which uses iFit. And I will admit, it's not my favorite option. It's just not as snappy as other bikes, and it also seems a little bit dated, but it gets the job done, and that's what matters. You're still able to go to your different screens, you're able to see the schedule, the content availability, make your selection, and get into the ride. And you don't spend that much time in the user interface, you spend your time in the ride, so it's really not that big of a deal, but I will say that's what I think about it. Now, as far as the content that's available on this bike, we'll start with studio rides. And this one falls into the it's not Peloton, just like everybody else for me. There's a level where it's Peloton and everybody else, and they're in that everybody else category. It's not bad. You have lots of instructors to pick from. You have the ability to filter down on all sorts of different categories to find the right ride for you, and it's quality rides. It's just a step down, but it still gets the job done. It's still enjoyable, and it still motivates you to get a great exercise in. Next are the scenic rides, and this is what makes iFit-based content very special. And based on the comments I've seen on the NordicTrack, people that get it for the scenic rides, they love it. They know that's the reason they want to do it, and it does not come up short in that category. They are instructor-led scenic rides, so it's not just looking at neat places. You get to do that, but you also still have the instructions. You still have the motivation. You get to learn about a location. And I think for those of us that don't want to just see that same studio type ride every time, you want to change scenery, you want to have something new, you want to kind of feel like you're outside almost doing a real ride, this delivers on that, and it's very, very enjoyable. And if that's a reason you're thinking you want an iFit enabled bike, I don't think you'll be disappointed. They also have a create tab, which allows you to create your own route. So what this will do is bring up like a Google Maps type view, and from there you can map a route. And then when you start that ride, it will show you images from that route. Now it's not video based. It's truly, it will kind of be like if you ever done a Google Maps where you hit the arrow and it slides over and shows you a new view. It kind of does that. So you'll have an image, you'll ride a little ways, the next image will load, and you can kind of see different points along the ride. It's neat. I don't use it much. It's not really that valuable to me, but I do know some people have commented and they really enjoy just being able to go do what they want to do and see the stuff that they want to see. They also have a wide range of off-the-bike content. So again, you turn that monitor, tilt it where you want to be, do some floor exercises, core-based stuff, cardio, strength training, meditation. There's all sorts of content. You'll be able to enjoy different things off the bike, mix up your workout, and I do like that, again, for the balance it brings, engage in different parts of your body, and I would recommend using it, and this bike does it well. Next up is electronic resistance and on-screen controls. In some bikes, this knob right here actually turns, and that's where you adjust the resistance. But on this bike, you do it via on-screen controls, and that uses an electronic motor that moves the magnet closer away to change the resistance. And this is nice for a couple of reasons. First up is that changing the resistance is easy. You don't have to reach down, find a knob, keep turning until you get where you want to be and kind of take yourself out of the ride for a minute. You just go up to the screen, tap the number you want, it starts changing it, but you immediately get back to your ride, focus on the ride, and just wait for it to get to the resistance you want, which does happen quickly. So it's very smooth and helps you keep focused on what you're doing. Second is that instructor-led content, they can change the resistance for you. And this is great for all sorts of ride types that you're going to do on this bike, and it increases the enjoyment, helps you stay focused on the ride, and you just don't have to distract yourself. You just stay laser focused and do what you need to do. But for scenic rides, this is where it gets really special, because on other bikes that don't have a feature like this, when you see a hill coming up, you kind of have to go, oh, well, let me change the resistance and make it feel like I'm going up a hill and kind of pretend. It's just not realistic. But with this bike, you don't touch it. You keep your hands on those handlebars, and that hill comes up, and suddenly it just starts getting harder, and it just makes it feel like you're really doing that ride. You're really going up that hill. And for me, that just makes the ride that much more exciting and interesting, and makes me want to use my bike more. Moving on to audio and the ability to connect devices. As far as the speaker go or how you can control it, they do have on-screen controls where you control how much music you want versus how much instructor you want. So you can turn down the instructor, turn up the music, or vice versa, which I really like because sometimes you just want to balance it in a certain direction. So I really do appreciate that they added that. As far as speaker quality goes, it's okay. You know, it's speakers that are coming out of the tablet system up there. I noticed that if I went all the way to 100%, it got too distorted for me and the quality wasn't quite there. But at 75%, it was still loud and the quality came back and it was enough to get the job done. But it's not going to be something you're going to jam out to, but it gets the job done. And as far as devices, I did test my wireless headphones here. They worked fine, paired right up, easy, no problems at all. Worked great once they were connected. And as far as heart rate monitor goes, I tested the old Scotia here, worked great. Heart rate was displayed right on the screen. Everything worked like a charm. And to summarize this bike, because I know a lot of people are comparing it to the NordicTrack S22i because maybe they've heard bad things about the NordicTrack bikes, or they just want an alternative, or maybe you just don't want incline-decline. I was very happy with this bike. It basically felt like I was on the S22i, but the build quality was just as good, if not better. I was very happy with just about everything the bike offered. The resistance was great, minus that top-end resistance if you just want to go crazy hard. My only real concern was probably those connections. I don't like how they built that. I wish it was stronger, but it's working fine now. I imagine most people won't have a problem there. But all in all, it's a quality bike. It's stable. It felt good. Resistance was good. Ride quality was good. Screen quality was good. Overall immersive experience. I was very happy with it. So if you're thinking of this as an alternative, as far as my use of the bike goes, it was very enjoyable, and I don't see why most people wouldn't enjoy it. But like I said, I am going to compare this bike to the Nortrek S22i, so it'll be an upcoming video. So if there's anything more that I didn't cover that you want to know about this bike, or that you want compared between the two, let me know in the comments down below, and I will try to get that in the video to help you make a better decision. But if you've made it this far, please hit that like button for me. I really appreciate it. Subscribe to know when new health and technology content comes out. And until next time, here's to a healthier you, and have a good one.